Welcome to Proud Veteran Outreach, our weekly TV show where we ask you, the citizen, to help us find the isolated or lost military vet. Military vets have some transition issues that they deal with, and consequently it can go favorably for them or it can go unfavorably. Some of the unfavorable experiences are they isolate and they get lost and commit suicide. So the suicide rate is high at 23 a day for military veterans, and they also may end up homeless. And 25% of all of the people on the street that you see that are homeless are military veterans, and military veterans experience pain at the rate of 48% of all military vets are in constant pain. So we're asking you, the citizens of the community, to help us find the isolated or lost vet who may be on your street corner or may be in an apartment next to you, and we're here to help you learn about the services that are available so that you can give them the support that they need. So today we're going to have two segments to our show. In the first segment, we're going to ask Chris Shaw to introduce himself. He is with the Heart and Mind Connection, which is a nonprofit organization here in Brooklyn Park. Chris, I'm going to ask you to please introduce yourself and tell us, first of all, about your military history, and then second of all, about what the Heart and Mind Connection is.
Sure, Jim. So my background is, my name's Chris Shaw. I am the executive director of the Heart and Mind Connection, which is a registered 501c3 nonprofit organization operating right here in Brooklyn Park. We're mental health, recovery, and advocacy focused. So we work to help bring education and awareness to communities and other groups about mental health conditions, mental wellness, and suicide prevention. My military background is I served in the Navy on the USS Forrestal aircraft carrier, 3 med cruises, and was stationed out of Mayport, Florida.
And how many years did you serve?
4 active, 2 reserve.
Okay. And so the Heart and Mind Connection is just a couple of years old?
Right. 2017 we started, put this together, myself and a young lady by the name of Christine Wainwright. We met in a certified peer support specialist class after my time in the Minneapolis VA for recovery from my mental health issues.
Okay, so that inspired you, and part of your mental health issues, we identified early that suicide rate is high.
Indeed.
And the personal emotion about your experiences, and again, we want the public to realize that there's hope.
There is.
And so you in yourself had an experience of an attempted suicide.
I did.
Pretty traumatic, and we want people to know that the story and how the help that was available to you help you recover and take you out of the threat area. So
sure.
Can you tell us about that story?
Yeah, the 3 things I always identify to people. Well, first off, people who are dealing with mental health issues or substance use disorder, we have a shared kind of feeling all too often, is that no one understands what we're going through and no one would care if they did. And I think when the night of my attempt, after run-ins with the law, using chemicals to self-medicate for my mental health conditions, which are bipolar disorder and PTSD, I felt a loss of 3 big things. 1, connection. I wasn't connecting with anybody. I was isolating. Number 2, purpose. I really felt, I had just gotten my 5th DWI, my 2nd divorce. I really felt like my life didn't have any purpose in it anymore. And the 3rd thing was hope. In that moment, I felt that there was no hope that I was going to feel any better than I did right at that time. And without those 3 things present, we can see why we lose so many people with or without mental illness. But when you don't have hope that your situation will ever improve, it's a pretty desperate place.
Okay, so you identified that you went through a divorce. So do you have any children?
I do. I have 3 children.
And the consequences of the decisions that you made, did that impact your family? Did the family get support? What was the transition there?
Yeah, unfortunately at that time I had gone until I was 40 plus years old before I was diagnosed. And that's one of the big problems we have is that people can go on average of 10 years before they'll reach out for any kind of help. So not really understanding what I was dealing with myself or my family, it was the cause for two divorces where we drifted apart, where the women I was married to just said, I have to kind of go into survival mode and take care of myself and the kids.
Sure.
And the isolating that I was doing, which is all too common.
And so did your kids forgive you, or did they?
We're in a much better place now, yes.
Yeah, great. And does your organization provide that kind of service to the families that may be confronted with those same issues?
Well,
I mean, heart and mind, I mean, we're dealing with the heart again.
Yeah, well, one of the biggest things is what we try to make that correlation between our ability to be empathetic to what people are going through, which a big part of that is reducing the stigma about it. So education we do with families about recognizing what the signs and symptoms someone might be going through if they're developing or in the midst of a mental health crisis, and how they can recognize that and act appropriately. So classes like mental health first aid, which we do for veterans, first responders, school teachers, people in the community at large.
Okay, so how does your organization do that community outreach? How, first of all, what does, how are you structured to, I think off air you mentioned that you provide classes. How do you reach out to the public? How does the organization become aware of the fact that you exist?
Sure. Well, from 2017, we've done a lot of grassroots, on-the-ground efforts, become involved in a lot of different partnerships around the state, Department of Health with their Minnesota Communities Awareness of Suicide program, the Military Mental Health Coalition, who puts on a conference every year, trying to meet with them, seeing how we can partner. We're trying to partner with people like the Minnesota Army National Guard for their families as people are coming back from deployment to understand what some of those soldiers might be dealing with. There's an organization called Eagles Healing Nest, which does recovery housing for veterans trying to get back into society and make those transitions safely. So we do classes for organizations like that. We do film screenings of a movie called Suicide: The Ripple Effect, and do community discussions afterwards, because breaking down that stigma will help people reach out and ask for help, hopefully.
Okay, and is your service only provided in the state of Minnesota? Are you licensed in restricted in the state of Minnesota? What?
No, we're not. I mean, Christine and I, who are both certified peer support specialists, we're licensed to do that anywhere in the country. Our focus is on Minnesota because every state has got their issues. We know that our suicide rate in Minnesota alone has risen incredibly over the past, since 1999, it's gone up 53% in general. And we know that we have some unique issues here in this state that lend to that. So we're trying to focus on really what's going on locally, but we travel all around the state and do that kind of outreach.
So Minnesota is fortunate to have such a strong mental health community. I mean, with Hazleton here, and a lot of people around the country believe that, you know, as soon as you get off the plane, there's a mental health specialist available to you.
We wish.
So the question is with all of the mental health issues that are there, and there's certainly more than a few of us that know what the 12-step recovery program is for addiction. What is the model you have that you use in terms of complementing what other services that may be available from all of these other organizations?
Well, I think one of the biggest things what we try and do is both provide resources, connecting people to available resources, because far too often, despite what we hear, there are things available that we know not reaching out, it can look like a pretty bleak horizon for what kind of services are available. And outside of just having insurance, there's still connections people can make. We talked earlier, Jim, about the vet centers, and that being kind of a bridge between the community and the veteran administration clinics and hospitals in getting people understanding what they can help do for veterans and also what the veterans can help do for themselves. Empowerment is a big part of it.
Okay, so you are a nonprofit organization, and you don't charge your clients or your people that come to see you fees. So you're relying on grants and donations.
Correct.
So where are the grants coming from, and how can the public make a donation to you if that's
Sure.
what your needs are?
That's great. A lot of the grants that we file for are right now either through the federal or state government, so SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration, or DHS, Department of Human Services. We're also looking at partnering with the Department of Veteran Affairs in getting some grants to provide these education classes that are specific to veteran populations. On our Facebook page, people can make donations there. On our website, people can make donations there. And really what we look to do is provide these classes for free. The barrier between understanding what's going on in mental health shouldn't have to come down to a dollar amount of attending a class where somebody's going to walk out of there knowing a lot more how they can help.
Okay, and the last part is venues to hold these classes. You're willing to go reach out to the communities and reach them. So how would somebody, how would an organization reach out to you?
Sure. Well, I think my phone number and our website and my email address will be
your
provided.
Phone number. Let's
sure.
see if people can memorize
the
it.
Heart and Mind Connection, our phone number is 612-616-6922. A lot of sixes and twos.
Yep.
And it's just chris@theheartandmindconnection.org to reach out by email. And we've held classes all around the state, from down in Fairmont, Minnesota recently, up into Duluth, International Falls, and we're willing to go anywhere that people have a desire to help us stop this suicide epidemic and change the idea about what mental health and substance use disorder is.
Well, great. Thank you very much, Chris,
Jim,
for
thank you
coming
so much
in.
for
I
your time.
appreciate it, and hopefully the public will respond.
I hope so. Thank you.